Alright guys, so let's get started. Let's get back. Hope you guys had a nice lunch and you enjoyed a lot of caffeine. Woo! Okay? Okay, I got one. Alright, I'll take it. You're gonna need it. So I want to make a couple last statements on just wrapping up the first of the morning. So first, I want to make sure that I leave you with the impression we kind of focused, I feel like we kind of focused on the negative a little bit. Okay, and that's my fault. I'm an analyst. Statistical analyst. I kind of focus on the critical nature. I see the rust on the fender before I see the the V8 engine. Anybody else like that, right? So, it's kind of normal and natural, but I want to go back and say that my experience working with state government employees has been universally positive. Almost to a person, everyone I worked with when I was with Health and Human Services was not only committed to the work that we were doing, but highly competent and interested in doing a great job. So I want to make sure that I reinforce that perception. That I think, like all of you, most everyone on your staff is a high-quality employee. Do you agree with that assessment? Okay. So I want to make sure that we revisit that and we talk about, we keep that in mind as we continue the conversation today. And the second thing I wanted to talk about, just to close the loop on communication, all right? I mentioned I don't know if I talked about my wife already or not, but there's two of us in this relationship. There's nothing between us, okay? We have a clear line of communication, right? Any couple's the same way. Now, you guys are not in that kind of relationship here with your managers and colleagues and different department heads, right? So if I want to talk to one person, we can just speak. I always pick the person who's just taken a bite, right? There's nothing between us. Now, if I work as a remote employee, that line of communication just got a little longer. That communication has to travel a longer distance, doesn't it? Because now we've got to have technology issues, and you've got to update Skype, and we've got to make sure that we can communicate, okay? Now let's say I'm in a different time zone. So now I'm out on the West Coast, okay? So you're 2 hours behind me. We got to do it electronically, okay? You're noon. Is it my noon and you're 10 o'clock, or how's that where I got to do the math? That line of communication gets further and further apart. Now I'm in a different department. Now the job function that I do is completely different from the one that you do. So we kind of speak a different language. And all of these intervening barriers cause the line of communication to become more complicated, right? And I think if we learned one thing from the morning session is that the communication that we do, it's pretty complex around here, isn't it? Especially between departments. Is that accurate representation? So that is the thing that strengthening culture is up against. Because if communicating is the means by which we strengthen our culture and we engage our employees, those obstacles are what we have to overcome. All right? Okay. I can see that lunch must have been really good. So let me move into perks. So we're going to talk about how to fix your culture, right? In 5 letters, perks. I always like to think of it as a chicken or the egg, okay? The best organizations seem to offer the best perks to their employees. Is that about right? Can you think of any perks that would be useful to have here at the state? What would you like? Here, let me give you some examples, okay?
I like the nap rooms, wherever you have that.
Okay, I'll show you. Let's just take a look at some of these perks. Maybe they'll. How about that?
Oh, Revenue had those at one time.
They had little massage chairs. What about that beer up there? That looks kind of good. Little bouncy chairs, golf clubs.
Like a locker room would be cool.
There's the slide. The chef, we just had some food down there. Okay.
Access to the nice break
Climbing
room.
wall. Guys riding his bike in the office.
Where they have room for work.
Yoga. Yeah, where they work. Exactly. So which of these perks would be most appropriate to offer at the state of Nebraska?
All of them.
We need them all. We need a climbing wall. So
It's called capital.
So let me ask you, what came first? The success of the organization, the strength, the culture, okay? Or the perks? Which came first? Now, how did we get to the point where you think the perks came first? So we started a company. Let's see when we started a company. We're going to sell software, okay?
know a lot about
And
soccer.
the first thing we need to attract the most qualified employees is
Perks?
a climbing wall,
A climbing wall.
a bikes in the office policy. There's only 2 of us, maybe we don't need that.
How about a locker room? So if somebody wants to bike to work in the morning, we want to encourage that, but they don't want to come to work all sweaty and gross, so then they don't bike to work.
Sure, now there's just 2, so we probably work from home because we're a startup.
Okay.
So I already got a shower in our garage and everything, so I'm good. Yeah, garage. I have to shower in the garage, I get kind of muddy. So what do we need before we can afford pool tables?
Success.
We need business. We need revenue, right? We can't afford, what's the big thing that we've been talking about all day? The financing. If there was money, there's no money for a new building, so we have to sort of make it work in this building. So what do we need? We need revenue. So our software needs to do what? It needs to be
Successful.
It needs to be good, yeah. I mean, we have to be able to sell it, so we need somebody to go sell it. So you can make 1 sale for every 100 calls. So you do 100, I'll do 100. That's gonna take a long time. So, we're probably gonna have to put off the yoga studio, right? So how do we fix this? How do we do this? Huh? Take a loan, that's
But
one way.
aren't those values that you already have right now, even in your startup company?
For
You
example.
value health, or you
Cool.
value, extracurricular activities, or you value, going to the Nebraska football games, and so any of your customers you take to them. So to me, that's why I think it really is what came first, the chicken or the egg, because those are all things that you value and probably do in
Sure.
your own life,
Right.
and so you bring that to your company.
You do. So I value a lot of things, right? So I value a healthy lifestyle. Okay? It's free. I value that. I can bring that attitude with me to the office, free of charge. It doesn't cost us anything on the sales team. There's no marketing collateral there. I can just bring it. Okay? Now, if I need to hire somebody and part of their job requirement, well, I need compensation. I need health insurance. I need retirement plan, okay? And I also need, a slide from floor 2 to floor 1. God, we don't have a building, so that one's gonna be tough, right? So how do we attract and recruit the best employees in the market?
We take them to the park where the slide is every once in a while.
It's a challenge, right? So we have to first have a company. We have to first be doing something successful, right? We have to first have success before we can do any of this stuff, okay? So let's think about it. What is a perk? All right? Become more cheerful, lively or interesting. Okay, recover, rally, improve, revive, take a turn for the better, look up, pick up, bounce back. Is this what we're trying to do with our cultures? How about a failing organization? How about does anybody remember WorldCom? This was a company, right, who had, I think they sold cell phones or something. The cell phone market did not go, has it gone away? What happened to this company? Why couldn't they just sell cell phones? You know what probably could have saved their organization? An indoor track. That's all they probably needed, right? If they had just had a chef on site, they might not have gone out of business. Does that make sense? Of course not, all right? So what is a perk? Perk, something extra that someone does in addition to their regular pay. Pay is the important component here, all right? Pay is important. Are there any perks that you have available to you as a State of Nebraska employee? Something that's available to you in addition to your regular pay. We mentioned roof over the head already. Okay, there is coffee in the back. I would say that's a perk. Literally, it's percolated.
Retirement.
Benefit package.
Okay, now benefit package feels like pay. That's part of compensation, right? What else?
Holiday pay,
What is it?
vacation leave, sick leave.
The work is always gonna be there? I like the way you're thinking. So this company, the State of Nebraska, is probably not going out of business anytime soon. Right?
Unless we act like Kansas, and then it could.
Okay, I can't get involved in any inter-regional disputes. But let's pick on that a little bit. This is a highly stable organization, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's a huge perk.
Right?
Yes.
Has anybody in this room ever been laid off?
From the state?
Well, no, just laid off in a previous life. Layoff means that you came to work one day and you left that same day without a job. Okay? Through no fault of your own. It was not a performance issue. I've been laid off. Right. That probably isn't going to happen very frequently at the state of Nebraska. The state of Nebraska has only grown, right, over the course of the last 10 years. No, I'm getting a no.
No, there have been furloughs and layoffs during recessions.
Within the last, less than 5 years.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
How big was that?
The furlough affected all state employees.
Okay. So maybe
2
that's
days,
a
2 to 5 days.
And then we do layoffs in every agency on a fairly regular basis.
So exactly what is it for actually?
Furlough is when you basically take an employee out of work and they do a non-pay day, so that way you're saving some of the
Got it.
dollars.
How many days have had? 2 days?
You do 5 days.
5 days? So 5 days unpaid?
I was really okay with it.
I took an unpaid vacation. It's not, it's absolutely, so in exchange for, they could have just probably laid a few people off and saved everybody furlough days.
Right.
So I don't know how the communication was handled there. Typically, the communication is, say, a layoff, okay? Which is, I would say, pretty much far afield of what a perk is. But a layoff is not communicated at all until there's some managers that are in on it. Then it's executed, and oftentimes, those managers themselves are then laid off to close the loop. Right? It's a pretty brutal process. In this organization, to avoid a layoff, they did a furlough, probably, right? In the time of the recession. And that's the big recession?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to this perk of long stability, that feels like a pretty strong selling point in a very uncertain marketplace. Okay, I would count that as a very strong perk. What else?
There's career advancement.
Get flex time? Now what's flex time exactly?
That means you can either start at 6:30 in the morning, or you can start at 7 or 7:30,
Oh.
8, different hours
And-
starting and ending times.
Oh, and you can have a variable end time also. So variable schedule. Is every department sort of, is that available?
Every
to pretty much
department is
everyone?
different.
Different, but is that available to everyone?
No.
No, I think it depends if
None.
you need to be available at a certain time for the public, then they're a lot more strict. So-
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense. So is it like 75% of employees have that availability? Is that fair? Too
Not
high?
much.
It's available to everybody, whether they institute it or not is up to their agency director.
Oh, right.
Not if you're statutorily obligated to be open a certain amount of time. The employees have no
Yeah, no
way to
flexibility there.
not be open at 8
Well,
a.m.
but that employee doesn't have to be there from 8 to 5. You can flex so that you have 2 employees who cover or
Well-
something like that.
So
So
let's,
there's all
Depends on how
kinds of
big
different
that-
ways.
let's continue to pick this apart, okay? I think that a nap room, for example, is kind of the opposite of a perk, right? Perks are supposed to wake you up and get you lively and get you engaged, and how did we end up with nap rooms? You know, this is a real thing. I'm not making this up. This isn't staged. This is take a nap during work if you need to. So what is a perk doing, okay? What is a perk? You mentioned benefits. We have nap rooms, we have wellness programming, we have bring your dog to work day. What is the substance of these perks? What is being accomplished by offering this fabric of perks?
You're making me feel valuable,
Okay, I'm making you feel valuable, but how? How am I?
because you're caring
Well,
for
I'm
a
increasing
bright
am I increasing morale? It feels like what I'm doing, let me give you an example. we open a software company. We're super successful. We're in downtown Lincoln, okay? And I don't want to hire really very experienced people because they're expensive. So I want to hire younger, less experienced people because they're not as expensive, but I'm going to need more of them. So what I'll do is I'll hire a chef and have salad bars. So they never have to leave. They never have to go home. They can eat all their meals here. So I'll get 10 hours a day out of them instead of 8. That seems like a good plan, right? Because salad's cheap and full-time employees are expensive. So that's a solid perk that's attractive to young employees who don't need a lot of money, but I sure need a lot of their time. Does that seem fair? That's a fair exchange, right? If I choose to work there, that's great.
Is that more of a perk for you though than for them? Yeah.
What am I doing by giving you food, a place to sleep, a place to bring your children if there's an on-site daycare, a place to bring your pet, a place to work out? I'm integrating your life with work so you don't have to leave. Plain and simple. And there's nothing nefarious about it. I'm just making it more convenient for you to work. That's all. Okay? For example, do you guys offer tuition reimbursement? Yeah, a lot of organizations do. I imagine the state of Nebraska it's taken advantage of a little more frequently than it is in others, but maybe not.
Agency by agency.
Agency by agency, of course. Many organizations offer a tuition reimbursement program. Okay? It's free to offer it. I can tell you I offer a reimbursement program. But if you don't go to school, I never have to pay for it. Right? Right. It's taken advantage of less than 1% of the time it's offered. So it's a pretty safe investment that I can inform you of a perk. Okay? Here's a perk. It's just for you. Okay? I engage you, I increase your morale, I give you this benefit, then I really never have to pay for it. Now, that's not true of all perks, okay? And I'm not trying to downgrade them, but what I am telling you is let's look at some of these. How many of these do you offer today in the state of Nebraska? We've got live concerts, dog days. What about pet insurance? Have you heard of that one? Pet insurance. So that's another one. I can offer it, but you have to pay for it, right? But it's part of our group plan. What about paid sabbaticals? Sometimes, I'm sure. No?
I don't think any of these.
Retailer discounts, personal trainers. What's that?
I don't know, honestly, it was too complicated.
What is it called? A We-Say? What is the We-Say program?
Discount program?
So there's a retail
Verizon customers.
for Verizon customers.
18% discount.
It's super easy
All
to
you have to
say.
do is
Look up your pay stub and show it to them on your phone for Verizon.
It's an 18%
18%?
Or you can show them your ED.
What? That's legit.
That is, yeah.
That's worth the paperwork.
There's nothing wrong to show that, yeah.
Okay, so that's a legitimate perk that many people apparently were not aware of. Who was aware of the 20%? Okay, so there's a, no, I would say though, about 25% didn't raise their hand. So that is obviously an opportunity. So we found one. After school programs for kids, any kind of daycare. Personal days, we talked about flexible scheduling. So I count 2 of these, right? How about these? Game rooms. No game rooms? You mean the taxpayer would look down upon folks? Okay. How about massage, yoga, and acupuncture? That's big. Car washes? How about free food? No free food. There is a
You got granola bars today, people.
There are some.
So we also pay for the.
they had to pay for the course.
You did.
Now, no preferred parking, it's on-street parking for employees?
You can get a parking lot, you just have to pay for it.
And wait years later.
Yeah.
Your years on the waiting list?
Yes.
Okay, there's not a sticker we can put in the car so you can park on the street?
No.
That seems like something.
No,
you
the
would-
parking maid puts that on your car.
You get a 10%
It's called the
parking.
$10. Okay. Concierge services, that's things like, hey, I'm gonna be working really late and I'm traveling, will you send somebody over to mow my grass?
There's actually some concierge services available through the EAP program. Like they will find a daycare provider for you or elder care, or they'll do some of that through EAP.
Isn't that part of the paid benefits though? I
Well,
would put that in the paid
That's
benefits
a
package.
phenomenal question. Okay, so let's return to that, because you're absolutely, you're tracking. So the reason we do perks is for employee recruitment and employee retention. Okay, if we have the facility by which we can afford the perks, then let's offer them so that we can attract employees. Okay, it sounds to me like you do have some perks that maybe aren't discussed, wholly in the hiring process. Maybe some people don't know about Verizon. Maybe some people don't know about was it the We Save program? We didn't even talk about what that was actually. But there's some others, like stability of the organization, okay? A commitment to your continued employment. Believe me, that's a perk. That's big, right? Everybody knows this organization, right? Has anybody heard of this? You've heard of Google? This is the original, I think the original search for Google, okay? Back in like 98. I mean, it's really not that old, okay? But if you remember, Google used to be this like little company that we have all now grown to depend on and use every single day in everything that we do, right? My kids Google stuff just to make sure I'm not telling them fit. They Googled the tooth fairy the other day, which was like, put that down. So Google is widely renowned for having one of the best employee cultures on the face of the earth. Have you heard this before? Is this a mystery to anyone? Oh, it's like Shangri-La. It's like a little slice of heaven on earth. It's where Adam and Eve went after the Garden of Eden and said, thanks but no thanks, okay? Too much? Maybe a little bit. All right. I want to share with you a quote from a former Google employee. A former employee? Surely you jest. How could this be? Someone left Google? What do you think they said about Google? Now this is one of the early employees. There what?
There wasn't enough structure.
There wasn't enough structure? Okay, what else?
They didn't have time for their home life?
They didn't have time for their home life. What else?
Too demanding.
Too demanding? This is not sounding like the best place on earth to work. What else? But it is, though. It is the best place to work. I mean, there's multiple lists. There's the best places to work. There's the best companies to work for. Google is top 1, 2, and 3 on almost every list. Okay, that's also true. So what do you think these early employees were saying about Google? Which came first, right? Google or the perks? Nothing? All right, I'll share with you. My actual experience was, could you work 130 hours in a week? And the answer was yes. If you were strategic about when you sleep, shower, and how often you go to the bathroom. Okay? So, too demanding? Yeah. This person actually became the CEO of Yahoo. And her name was Marissa Mayer. And now Yahoo, well, But this person helped build Google in a legitimate way, right? And basically lived there. Strategic bathroom breaks? That doesn't sound like we hired Marissa Mayer by, providing this really fun place to work. They probably all ate at a picnic blanket, right? So then they could go back to their desk and continue to crunch code. We really think about the development of that organization. It didn't just become the global powerhouse because they offered a bunch of perks. It didn't become a best place to work for any other reason except for their employees were totally and absolutely committed to their mission and vision. Absolute and total commitment, literally, right? I mean, that's physically and mentally. That's ridiculous. I just wouldn't do it, you know? I guess I wouldn't work for Google. I don't know. So, compensation includes, and this is exactly what Lorena said, compensation includes pay, benefits, and perks. It's what they get in exchange for doing the job that you ask them to do, right? So, Google might have pioneered merging work and life in some ways, right? In some ways they did, for the benefit of other people, okay? But if you have a broken culture, perks are not going to fix motivation, okay? And we described that with the unfortunate circumstance of the corrections department, okay? If we're motivating people to stay with money, that might be great until my next check. Now what else do you got? What else you got? Okay, I'm still gonna have the same manager, you guys, but you're very nice. Okay, you're very nice. I'm gonna have the same manager, same recognition practices, same work-life balance, same communication frustrations, same inability to, you know, hire and direct traffic as I need to, same process improvements are gonna need to happen, et cetera and so forth. And really, that's not gonna address motivation at all. So how do we? Okay, we talked about all these elements of organizational culture. And I want to share with you some of these data. So these are favorable ratings of America's best places to work. As I mentioned, trust with coworkers is typically the most favorably rated aspect of organizational culture. Okay, for all the reasons that we've talked about. People like people. People want to be liked, they want to get along, people want to have friends. Okay? Alignment with goals is next, job satisfaction. There's trust in senior leaders. Okay? Career development, teamwork. Manager effectiveness is next. Now, why do you think managers are relatively less favorably rated than, say, trust in senior leaders?
Direct contact.
I have direct contact, but I have direct contact with my coworkers. No ideas? No thoughts why, across even America's best places to work, why managers are less favorably rated than, say, senior leaders?
They deal with discipline,
Yeah.
or in stuff that you don't, coworkers relate a lot more on the level if they're doing the same job or whatever, and more of a team than, and I heard it when I went to manager, well, you're a manager now, so you don't get in our conversations, sort of thing, but I mean, it's, you know, you have to think it different, act different, I mean, it's different.
Oh, it's absolutely different. I mean, you guys remember when you were just simple coworkers, right? Then you become managers, and suddenly everybody else's problem is your problem, right? And people don't like problems. And most problems are never solved to the satisfaction of the people who bring them to you. Is that true? They're like continuing. They're like, you know, something that they have to learn to live with. So the object of some of that frustration is the managers. Senior leaders are far away, right? Now, for best places to work organizations, that's kind of what you want. You want senior leadership to be more favorably rated than managers. As a senior leader, that's definitely what you want. In an organization where that's reversed, where managers are more favorably rated than senior leaders, that indicates a very significant problem in an organization. That means that the communication stream from global objective through leadership, through managers to employees is interrupted by managers' personal sort of or agency leadership kind of fiefdoms. Right? So that indicates kind of a significant problem. And that happens way more often than you might realize. Recognition is feeling valued. Recognition is pretty low on the favorable rating list, all right? Followed only by compensation. Now, among the America's best places to work, even compensation is least favorably rated. What does that tell you?
We can never pay our people enough.
Yeah. Can
Never enough.
anybody here turn down a raise? Come on, somebody makes enough money. There was a hedge fund manager I read about the other day. In 1 year, he made $1.9 billion. Yeah, it's actually disgusting, but the person went to work on Monday. He can't make enough, okay? I know, he just can't make enough money. No one can. I mean, people are always trying to make more money. You're never gonna satisfy somebody with comp and benefits. These aren't average places to work. These are the best places to work. Okay, they have won local contests and have been voted, not only by employees, but others, as having been the best places to work in their communities. And guess what? Comp is universally rated as their least favorable aspect of culture. Because you can never pay somebody enough. You're absolutely correct, Crystal.
Have you ever heard more money, more debt?
More money, more debt? I've heard a lot.
So I've been reading this book recently where they talk about just because you make more money, those people can still have the same amount of money stress as somebody who's making a lot less because of the choices they make. Yeah, exactly, so. Just because you have more money, more debt.
It's true.
No money, more debt.
Yeah, there you go. So any final comments or thoughts on this? You don't impact your culture by giving somebody a perk, okay? Now, an organization that's very successful will normally and naturally provide perks to its employees, okay? Let's say Google, as profitable as it is, okay, kept all that money and didn't share those perks with employees. What would happen? Let me give you an example. The Gallup organization started in Nebraska, right? People left Nebraska, or excuse me, left Gallup and started Connexa, where I went to work. Why did they leave? Why did they leave? Some reason, okay? What motivation? Some motivation. They wanted to do things differently. They wanted to make more money. They wanted a bigger slice of what that pie, whatever it was, okay? People also left Gallup and started National Research Corporation. They also left Gallup and started Talent Plus. Okay, I mean, these are all industries in a very similar, companies in a very similar industry. Why didn't they all just stay with Gallup? I don't
get more of the pie.
I don't, yeah, apparently, evidently, you know? And I'm not saying that it was a bad thing or a good thing, or it was due to the fact that Gallup didn't share enough of the fruits of their labor or what, okay? But maybe some things could have been done differently. I'm sure that Gallup didn't welcome the competition, right? In fact, there was lawsuits and such all between those two organizations for years and years. So you impact culture by changing minds. And we're going to talk about how to do that through the course of culture change. So we've been back for 30 minutes. I guess I'll keep going. We'll take a break in like 20 minutes, okay? So who said it before? Change is constant? Now, we always say that. Change is constant, right? But what does it mean, okay? Do cultures change? What are your thoughts? I've got some yeses. Do you think Google's culture changed? All right, now I don't want to just talk about Google. Has this culture changed? Has the culture in your organization changed? In what ways?
Changes every time we have a new government.
Okay, so leadership change influences the nature of the culture?
The new employees, and when I started eons ago, back in the day of the dinosaurs, if men were not allowed to have any piercings, hair had to be cut, and no tattoo, nobody could have tattoos.
Okay.
In today's environment, that's not even looked at anymore.
So kind of dress code, professional dress? Okay, yeah. Debbie, were you going to add something?
I was just gonna say the focus changes, and kind of back to with governors, whether or not it's employee focused or focused somewhere else. So there are some governors that say exactly what you're saying, is that we can't be successful without employees, and there are other ones that have said, we don't need employees. If you don't want to do your job, we'll find somebody else who will.
Yeah.
So that is a big change.
So we can control that And what are some of the effects of change? So we were talking just between the break about a circumstance where someone was gonna be written up for being a minute late to work. It's 60 seconds. Now, have you guys heard of something like that? Okay, so I got one or two, okay. What do you think the impact of writing a person up for being 60 seconds late is?
It destroys the whole culture of that work area.
Wow, okay, it destroys the whole I think you're right, but what else happens? What were you saying something?
It's horrible. It really impacts the morale of the office and it makes other people jittery too.
Of the entire office. Okay, now, how many people are impacted by that act, by that change? How many people are directly impacted? One. So how could it possibly impact the morale or the culture of an entire organization? How does that happen? How is that information transmitted from that event out to other people?
The break room.
We got break rooms. What else we got?
Email,
We got email. What else we got?
instant messaging.
We got Instagrams,
Texting.
right? Text. Okay, we got earshot. Now, I'm gonna be late tomorrow. I've got my kids' thing, the bus does this thing where they say they're gonna be here at 37 after, but then it's 42, and the kid missed the bus, or the thing happened with the stuff, and now I'm gonna be 5 minutes late tomorrow. What do I do? What do I do now? Do I tell someone?
Yeah.
Do I just call in sick?
Look for another job.
Which is safer? Which is safer now? For me, a person who, I've never done anything wrong. I'm like, and I really have never done anything wrong. I'm a model employee. What should I do? Call in sick? Should I tell the manager? Should I put that manager in a position, because I know how legalistic this person is, should I put this person in a position to have to write me up? Or choose not to write me up? And then, you see, this manager has made it impossible for him or herself to manage by doing this thing, okay? By being inflexible or, totally dependent on policy or whatever. These are the effects of these changes. Now, we could have changed the way this person acted in this event, okay? And just not written them up, right? And what are the effects of that? Can I communicate that? These are the actions that change a culture really quickly. And I'll tell you something else. When it changes, you'll remember it forever. Okay? I don't work in this agency where this happened. Okay? But I know about it. And probably everybody I know is probably going to know about it. Because I'm getting together with people, and I'm going to talk, and we're going to be having a conversation. I'm going to remark on it. Does that help the perception of the state of Nebraska among non-state employees as a place to come to work? No, not at all. Most people, most managers are dedicated to becoming better managers. That's why you're tolerating me for this entire day. So I should have apologized before you even got here. I should have sent flowers to your family and all that. But it's true. I mean, this small event, okay? How many employees are there? 18.5? How many opportunities do managers have to write someone up at 8 in the morning? Every day there's about 18.5, right? It's 365 days in the year, so how many days do we work? I mean, do the math. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of opportunities, okay? To negatively impact culture with the slightest act. And that impact is real. You are all in control of all of these actions, right? Do you agree? Am I making too much out of it? Tell me. So this is the typical model of organizational change. It's like this stable lake where everybody is, it's beautiful, right? And then some change happens. We get a new governor. And there's this repercussion, right? This is kind of the way we think of change. That everything is stable, and then there's some event, okay? But is that accurate? Because change is constant, right? Like we say that, and we know it's true, but this is really more what your organization looks like, isn't it? It's flowing through time, It's flowing through these events, okay? And then you get a new governor, it's like one of these stones. And now the water goes around that, or, you know, it's redirected through that course, and then it keeps going, right? So change is always happening, it's all around us. And sometimes it kind of looks like this. Oh, whoops. Look at that, look at this poor guy. All right, I mean, sometimes change is a pretty significant waterfall. Okay, so change causes, and this is probably the most, if you take one thing from this discussion today, this is it. Change causes uncertainty. Okay, it causes uncertainty. Does anybody work with the lights off? Do you know, I mean, it's the reason God invented light switches, because we have this total intolerance for uncertainty. When you walk into a dark room, what do? You do, well, you can't, you don't know you don't know, you do this. You're like feeling, you're walking very slow in multiple directions, right? You're not walking a straight line efficiently, it's dark in here, okay? But if I turn the light on and I have clarity, okay, now I know where I'm going, right? Basic level, okay? Think about the incident that we talked about just a minute ago. Somebody got written up. Now, it's a day later, a week later, oh, I'm not sure how I should handle this totally insignificant event. Like I'm gonna be late 5 minutes tomorrow. So, I don't know what to do. You see how that event caused my uncertainty? And it has slowed down the production of everything that we're about to try to accomplish. You guys agree with this? Sure, staring at me. You got the post-lunch thing. I get it. I got it. So, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about perceptions and the degree of uncertainty that is sort of contagious. Okay. This is probably your favorite time. This is the furlough time that we were talking about, right? The Dow Jones Industrial went from about, what, almost 14 down to about 7. See that big drop there? Early 09, okay? Now what do you think employee engagement did when mass layoffs, as reported by the Department of Labor, spiked at that same time? What do you think employee engagement did? Take a guess. I'm tired of talking, actually. My throat's hurting. Yeah, it decreased, but like, was it stable? Was it steady? What happened? What? I mean, this is what happened. It totally dropped. I mean, it was almost like, okay, there's some insecurity in the market, and then we have this right here. It went from 14 to 12, right? In like a month's period of time, 2 months, quarter. And look what engagement did. It followed that precisely. Holy crap. Now most people, if they own any stock, do you guys have 401k or is it pension? Okay, so people who own stock, far and away, they own mutual funds. Okay, like they barely know how it works. The typical consumer of information like this has no idea what, oh, the stock market's trading at 15,000, what now, NASDAQ, S&P 5, what now? I don't really know what any of the people don't know what that is. Okay, but they do know that people are starting to panic. All right, then look what happens here. The big drop, employee engagement just falls. Remember, most of these people don't own stock. They're not directly impacted. You understand? Mass layoffs, okay? A lot of people lost their jobs at that time. But most people did not lose their jobs, okay? 98% of Americans did lose their jobs. But was everybody freaked out? Everybody was freaked out, right? They thought the sky was falling. Didn't you? Mm-hmm. People like, you know, bought those meals that what do you build a barrack in the backyard? You stock it with water and freeze-dried meals. What am I trying to think of? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah, people were totally panicked. All right. And then as the economy improved, okay, here, as indicated by the Dow Jones and the news of layoffs began to taper off, employee engagement, interestingly, really followed this, really for the first time probably in the history of employment in America, employees really followed the stock market, didn't they, as this indicator. I mean, look how closely, you know, at the end of 2009, 2010, it just absolutely mirrors the trajectory of the stock market. Okay? Because people's perceptions were absolutely changed by that event. Their perceptions of security. We're not talking about their jobs, we're talking about their families, their careers, their children's college, their homes. Is there a question or comment?
Yeah, isn't it opposite of your own personal interest, though, to become less engaged when there are mass layoffs? I mean, I'm just wondering. That was when I was graduating law school, got married, and looking for a job. So that was a really awesome 2 years.
I'm sure that was perfect timing.
Super great.
Yeah.
But I mean, doesn't that kind of go against your own self-interest, though? If you're the best employee that you can be, wouldn't you be retained? So losing engagement is sort of the opposite of your own best interest during a really poor. I mean, I was hustling then, like I was working a lot.
Hustling pool? What were you doing?
I mean, I was doing whatever I could to pay off school and pay off a wedding, and I mean, it was just crazy. So for me, I worked probably harder than I've ever worked in my life.
Sure.
About that time, because I was doing
Well, it's interesting because
non-fun things.
if we go back and we talk about engagement as an emotional state, okay? If engagement's an emotional state, it's going to change and it's subject to all these influences, right? Some of those influences managers can control, right? Managers can control, for example, if I'm going to write somebody up for being a minute late. I can control that. I can control some of the communication. If I choose to write somebody up for being a minute late, I can control, in some respects, the way that might be perceived through enhanced communication or what have you. But some of the things that influence your employees' perceptions are not in your control at all. Not at all, right? They make a bad financial deal, okay? That has nothing to do with your management ability, but they still are on your team, and so your accountability, right? So we're going to talk about some sources of pressure. There's pressure on your employee perceptions at all times because change is constant, okay? So some of those are fairly static. They don't change that much. Some of them are external to the organization. Some of them are internal to the organization. But like the financial structure or the ownership of an organization, like the state of Nebraska, is super stable, right? So it doesn't change that often. So it's probably not a source of pressure on your employees. It's probably also the reason you haven't thought of it as a perk. You've taken it at some level for granted. I mean, no offense, but I think that might be true. Okay. Geographical diversity. A lot of new offices opening. State of Nebraska opening a bunch of new offices. Okay. So a lot of growing organizations. I think, for example, Huddle is opening. What are they opening? An Australian office? Okay, great. Super tough to manage from the other side of the earth. No doubt. I mean, it's super hard to schedule conference calls. It takes forever. Technology aside, I mean, I used to manage people who work and live in India. Okay? So sometimes my days started at like 4 in the morning, and other times I had to take calls at 10 at night just to make the calendars work. Okay? So I mean, simple thing like geographical diversity causes pressure. You following me? All right. But you guys don't have a lot of that. Now you have a lot of different geographical, locations and other things, so you do have some of them, but it doesn't change that much. You've gotten used to it, maybe. Industry and market conditions. I think you are starting to feel some of this stuff. You have different regulatory environments, right? Especially in healthcare, perhaps. Some other places as well, right? Market conditions for new talent. Okay, you're going to have to be doing a lot of hiring with all the retirements that are coming. Okay, so some strategies there, but certainly that causes pressure. Employee contract structures. These are compensation structures. Now, it's different at the state than it is in a private organization. The state, everybody's you know, you can look up people's salary, right? You have a certain job grade, when you're hired, it pays this and that's it, right? But that's not true in other organizations. But how often does that, is it 2 years for contract negotiations? So is that a stressful period for state employees? Does it cause I'm asking, you're kind of giving me a wry smile there. Am I dipping my toe in an area I shouldn't?
Does anyone negotiate with the union here? How many people in this room have ever negotiated with the union? Okay, one, so.
That's my job.
But it's your
Well,
job.
so, I don't think
See how
anybody,
many of us do it in the entire state?
right, I mean, I don't think anybody is engaged in that process
Okay.
enough to care. I mean, you kind of take it for what it is.
No, I get it, I get it. You
I mean,
care,
I think you care, but you take, I mean.
you take what you get. You take out everything.
Unless you're a union steward, maybe.
We're resigning that sense.
Resigned, right, this is the status quo, it is what it is.
I think maybe there might be more interest this time because this particular administration is interested in making a lot more changes than in the past, so I think maybe more people are kind of interestingly paying
More than
attention. More
More than two.
But,
So let's double that.
yeah, but,
Well, it's interesting though, the change in leadership might cause changes in something that was previously pretty static.
yeah.
That's intriguing to me. Functional diversity, we have people who are operating forklifts, and we have people who are collecting revenue, and we have lawyers, and we have,
That do whatever.
that just, who knows? But what other job functions do you have? Like, what are the job titles? Can you give me some? Just shout some out.
Case managers?
Accountants, case managers,
All of them.
Program specialist.
program specialists, paralegal,
Inspectors.
inspectors,
Scientists.
IT.
scientists, IT, what do you guys got?
Doctors.
Payroll, doctor, okay, so yeah,
Mechanics.
super diverse, okay? Diverse functionality, that's one of those, remember we did the distance exercise, okay? Now we have two very different jobs, so our objectives are very different. And the needs for my role and the needs for your role are not only very different, they might be in total conflict, actually, right? So functional diversity causes pressure. And it's pressure that you have to mitigate in order to address or accomplish your concerns. Product and service diversity, similar to functional diversity, but ultimately internal change is the most dynamic source of pressure on your organization. Right? The more change you have, the more frequent the change. Some companies can't withstand it to the point that they simply go out of business. Right? I mean, not every company that comes into existence maintains itself throughout the course of eternity. They go out of business. And the reason they go out of business is because they actually can't handle the rate of change. Right? The waves come over them and that's it. So, size and complexity of an organization slows the speed of change generally.
This is for.
That is true.
Okay. Yeah,
This
it was
state
so,
is very slow.
it was so obvious that it was funny. I was like, I'm sorry, did I have something on my face? Like,
I didn't mean to do that.
every once in a while, a bird will land on my shoulder and I won't notice until people are laughing at me. So yeah, it slows the speed of change. Big organization, it's like a ship on the ocean, right? We want to change. The governor says we want to change. The agency leaders say, wait a minute, wait a second, right? And that functional diversity, geographic diversity, all of those layers of an organization, it's like putting the brakes on, literally, okay? And there's some good, that's good and bad, right? That's good and bad. But it's like turning a ship on the ocean, right? It doesn't just stop and turn. It turns over the course of time, and in this environment, because there's elections, right? The time it takes to turn the ship, you might not complete the maneuver before the next election. Does that happen?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have a very difficult circumstance from a global perspective, but in your own teams, the teams that you manage directly, how fast could you make a change if you wanted to? Pretty quickly, or? Okay.
Yes, you can make it immediate.
You can make an immediate change. You have total autonomy. I mean, there's some limits, right? Like, there's probably some things you'd like to do but can't because you run into some of those separations. But if we can all make very quick changes, I'm no mathematician, but the additive property suggests that if I want to make a change, or I can make a bunch of little small changes very quickly, the sum of that is I can make a large change very quickly. Right? So that's just math. Okay. I can tell that this is super exciting. Visibility of change leads to heightened uncertainty. So I wanted to say visibility of change, not size of change. Right? So what is the biggest change that might hit the state of Nebraska? I mean, a new governor is big. That seems like a pretty big change. What else?
Budget cuts.
Prices of corn.
Budget cuts, prices of corn, okay,
I mean,
commodity
that's
prices,
I mean, that's why revenue is down.
okay,
I mean,
revenue,
that's why we're making process improvement changes, because corn went down.
okay.
Changes to laws, state or federal.
So, yeah, legislation. It's good, all right? Now, the visibility of a change is the degree to which it will produce uncertainty, right? We had layoffs, or excuse me, we had mass layoffs back in 2010. Most people weren't laid off, but everybody freaked out, okay? What's another change? Insignificant, the manager who's writing somebody up for being literally a minute late. That's a very small change in a legalistic application of the rule. And the impact, potentially huge. Certainly, everybody who works on that team is impacted, right? What's another change that everybody saw? Can you think of one? In your own experience? You might not have been affected by it. How about, I mean, in your life, right? Like, what about Y2K? Remember that? Remember Y2K? Did that affect, you're laughing because you're in IT. So what happened with the state? Were you here back then? That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But you guys were, right? People were afraid that the whole,
Oh, it's gonna blow up.
it was just like a
Everything was
fuse.
gonna
It was just gonna melt down. Right. Everybody was freaked out because everybody knew it wasn't gonna be 1999 anymore. Like, everybody knew that, right? So the contagion of that uncertainty was like widespread mass panic, right? Okay? I'm going to get grim for a moment, but terrorist attack. Okay? Far more people die as a result of car accidents every day than have died in terrorist attacks since 9/11. That's a statistical fact. Okay? But car accident, it's just on a street somewhere in some city someplace. Terrorist attack is on every news show in the world, right? So the visibility of that event is what causes the uncertainty. It causes uncertainty. It doesn't promote clarity, right? Impacts to culture, as the impact to culture increases, so do negative behaviors. Okay? I don't know why I brought you guys down. I feel like the energy level's pretty low. Brought you down, apologize for that, okay? But the more uncertain I am, the more likely I am to behave in a negative way. Negative meaning I'm not acting in alignment with the objectives of the organization. Okay, I'm gonna be 5 minutes late tomorrow. So I'm just gonna call in sick. Like, that's a legitimate option, right? That's not my suggestion, that came from you guys. What's another one? What are some negative behaviors that your employees have engaged in as a result of uncertainty?
I think being here.
Great gossip.
I think being here for so long, you've seen 4 different governors, and you're like, we literally tried this 30 years ago. We don't need to try this again. Like, it didn't work 30 years ago. This is the same, especially with taxes. Like, let's revisit that again, but.
Sure.
So I think just that, I guess truly negative about any sort of,
So it's just a lack of belief.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, like a lack of hope, a hopelessness. I mean, that's, I know, that's kind of.
Dark.
Okay,
I know,
are you taking us down again?
No, I'm trying not to. But you mentioned somebody mentioned gossip? Yeah, gossip is kind of a negative behavior, but what's the function of gossip? I'm communicating at a fast rate with anyone who will listen. What am I trying to do? Well, I have some uncertainty, so what am I trying to do?
Feel better.
Did you, really? Yeah, well, what makes me feel better? Like, did you hear about this thing that happened? Do you have any information about this? Give me something, give me some
Validation.
clarity. What did I do?
Shut it off.
No, in your face. So look, if change causes uncertainty, and I'm uncertain, and I just can't walk around in a dark room, we're not wired to do that. We need information. That's why information technology, okay, is expanding. That's why Google is so successful, and why light switches are in every room, right? I mean, we just can't tolerate uncertainty, so what do? We look for clarity. And if I can't get it from my manager, I'll get it from anyone who will listen to me, okay? Tell me, did you hear about the thing that happened with the guy, okay? If I can't get it from senior leadership, I'll get it from my manager. You gotta tell me what's happening here. Give me a sense of, what is it gonna take for me to get to your job? Right? Has anybody had to have that conversation? I want your job someday. It's like, oh, what? I want my job someday too, okay? But you hear what I'm saying. We are constantly looking for clarity because uncertainty is contagious.
Fear.
Yeah, like fear. Absolutely. So, I'm trying to make sure we're on track here. Uncertainty is contagious. If I don't know what I'm talking about, and I come over to you and you don't know what I'm talking about, and we're both talking about it, we don't know anything more than we did before we were talking, right? But now there's two people talking. So now these folks over here can hear you. What is it? What? What's going on over here? Y2K? That's gonna happen? Yeah, I think. Well, what do you know about it? Nothing. Let's ask somebody in IT. They don't know what to do. Okay? But we caused a problem, right? By failing to alleviate uncertainty. You following with me? I feel like you guys might be experts on it. So what in your current organizations cause uncertainty? Is there something, is there a kind of a typical question that gets asked or repeatedly asked? How do we do this? Or why do we do that? Anything
Why are
like
property taxes so high?
Why are property taxes so high? Okay. What else?
Why is insurance so expensive?
Why is insurance so expensive?
Why can't you just give me a raise?
Why can't you just give me a raise? Why?
I understand, but I feel like sometimes there's a difference between understanding and agreeing. Is it that you don't understand or that you don't agree? Because if I've explained why I can't give you a raise, I don't think that you're uncertain, I think you just agree, or you just disagree with that, and so you're gonna keep asking the question. I mean, there's sometimes when it's crossed the line from uncertainty and you've clarified and they just disagree.
Okay. Yeah.
And continue the gossip.
Probably.
Over
And continue the gossip.
disagreement versus the uncertainty.
Sure. Certainly in that case, I would say that, gossip and negative behaviors are some type of retaliation.
Yeah, I said that too.
Yeah, okay. But if I don't know what you're going to do if I say this, what should I do? Not tell my friend that this is how we ought to do? I mean, what are some of the other questions? So I like that, Lorena, for sure. But what are some of the other questions that you hear as managers? An employee comes to you and says, what? They come in for a one-on-one. What do you talk about? What are the things that come up? Does anything come up?
Why do we have to implement this tablet project?
Why do we have to implement the tablet project?
Well, there are times, because as a manager, we want to give our employees a heads up so they don't feel like they're in the dark, but we don't always know everything. So kind of giving them a heads up, this thing might be coming down the road. And so then we keep getting the question of, when is it, what's it going to be? And we've given them all the information we have, because it's still being developed. So that's kind of a boat that I tend to find myself and my managers in. It's like, we've told you everything, and we know you still have questions, and we have them too. We're waiting for those to be answered. So not keeping them completely in the dark, but it's not giving them everything so we don't have it.
So giving partial information sort of promotes uncertainty sometimes.
Yeah, and so which is better?
It's a good question. I think it depends on the team. But in your case, what do you think? Which is better?
Partial information and then just keeping and telling them to let them know.
Do you guys agree partial information better than no information? Why? Why do you agree with that? Because this is my assessment, partial clarity, like it's dim in here, but at least I can see, like I'm not gonna trip over that toy my kid left out. It's dim, I can't quite see, okay? Now maybe mitigating some of the discomfort associated with, when is this coming? Because I have a process to implement that is dependent upon that. I've got a critical decision to make with respect to this decision. If it's going to happen, I need to know so that I can develop the rest of this process. Well, we won't know for 6 months, so I suggest you wait to develop the rest of that process for 6 months. What is the reason the question keeps coming up? Maybe not what is the answer to the question. If the answer is I don't know, maybe the question could be, I don't know, but why do you keep asking? Why do you need to know? Is there some way I can help mitigate? Well, I'm sorry, but is there some way as a manager you can?
That is my response.
Why do you need to know? I think it's a fair question for a manager to say, if this information is relevant to you, and I'm your manager, then maybe I can help you manage your task forthcoming.
And you're actually building trust with that
Maybe.
person, because we don't have to know everything as managers. You know what I mean? It's just, we have to be able to communicate what we do know, and if there's a hole, we need to identify the hole and then still be able to honestly say, I still don't know that yet. I don't think asking the employee, why do you need to know? That's not bad.
Well, no, I didn't mean rude.
No, but it's
Why
not
do you need
rude.
to know, jerk? Why don't
Yeah.
you just leave me alone?
But why do you keep asking? Obviously, there's something stirring in that employee if they keep asking it over and over and over. There's an uncertainty, and as a manager, you may be able to help.
Now, but Maria made a good point. If it's disruptive, well, now I've got a different other management issue. You're disrupting the flow of, objectives here. By stick in the mud behavior, you've got to kind of move on, and this is why. We don't know. We're not going to know for at least 90 days. We'll revisit it in 90 days. Move on, So I hear you exactly. Communication is definitely the cure for uncertainty. There's no doubt. So transparent communication is something that's very difficult for many people, and managers and leaders maybe particularly, for a lot of different reasons. Okay, and we're going to talk about that later in the day. But because change is constant, managing uncertainty is a full-time job. You guys have jobs, right? So other people's uncertainty, you really can't manage that full-time. You have to help people manage their own uncertainty to some extent. But this is the entire nature of managing people. It's constantly mitigating their uncertainty. It's constantly giving them direct, accomplishable tasks that are clear and clearly related to the outcomes you hope to obtain. Right? And it always sounds easy, and it's like, hey, you're not telling me anything I don't know. But I hope that that this sticks in some way. That rather than trying to get a task accomplished, reducing uncertainty is the means to do